it just showed up. Yep. Pretty cool.
What's wrong with it? Why did it not make it?
What's wrong with it?
Yeah.
He put a new carburetor on it. It hadn't been tuned properly, so I'm going to tune it up for him. He hadn't driven it in a year. It had some bad gas in it. He wanted to go put some gas in it, and it wouldn't crank back. It died. And the battery died when he was trying to get it to crank back up. So.
Gas station?
Yep, he was at the gas station, died on him, so just towed it over. We're going to fix it up for him. Get him tuned up. It's a beautiful car. $383 Dodge, no car.
That car's real easy, you know?
Yeah, old cars are easy to work on compared to new cars. This hot rods made simple. It's got aluminum headed 383 in it, I believe. Those are Mopar wedge heads.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a cool car.
Very nice. You don't ever want to lean on somebody's car like this, okay? Especially with your elbows, it can dent it.
Yeah.
Could.
Feel like that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Especially a black car, you don't want to rub it.
No, don't take the paint.
You can scratch it real easy. That's why I got on to you about the dust on that car, rubbing the dust.
Yeah.
I can scratch it.
You
You don't want to do that.
What's this?
It's been leaking gas. See, all this is gasoline.
Yes.
That's the new carburetor. The old one was leaking. So we're going to clean all that off for him, try to get it cleaned up.
How far did he get?
I don't know. He said he went to the gas station. Battery's dead, so I got to put a charger on it. We're going to put a charger on the old charger. See if we can't get it to fire to life here in a little bit. All right.
Is that the radiator one?
That's the radiator cap. That's where the coolant goes. It's anti-freeze.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a cool car.
Now you got a smoke in the Bandit car and a...
Needs a little cleaning. It's got a little mildew in
You got
there.
smoke in the Bandit car and a Duke's Hazard car now.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. I got Smokey in the Bandit and a General Lee painted black. We need to wipe that mildew out of here. Beautiful car.
We used to have an 01 on the side, and it needs to be on.
Got a Hearst quarter stick in it. That's what I had in the Camaro. The same shifter was in my Camaro. These cars are cool.
What's that little leather beside that shifter?
What, this?
Yeah.
It's just a center console. The lever, that's to get it in and out of gear. That right there, that's to get it into park. It's got a, so when you're drag racing, you're banging gears, you don't want to, you go first, second, you don't want, it's a reverse lockout, so you can't get it in a reverse on accident going down the drag strip. If you accidentally shifted it in reverse, that'd be bad, wouldn't it? So you can go first, second, third, neutral, but it won't let you shift one more up to reverse or park until you pull that lever up. It's called reverse lockout on a shifter. Tires low.
What, this one is Smoking the Bandit?
I like them both, but if I had to pick, I'd pick this Charger.
Yeah. Transit's so nice, but I like it.
Yeah. Very, very cool. What's that? Yes, it has glitter in it. It does have glitter in it. Kind of a, you know what this is?
Gas tank.
Nah, it's not. I thought it was. No, this is just part of the trunk.
Gas tank, isn't it?
Yeah, gas tank's on the side. Yep. Awesome. It's dirty too. It's been sitting for a year. He's ready to get it back going. Yeah, they've both been sitting. We gotta get the Bandit car cleaned up and running again, and we gotta get the old Charger cleaned up and running again. Cool times. The Hot Rod Dave garage. Sure. Caleb wants to help clean up some hot rods. That's cool. All right. We'll get back on that one in a little while. Shooting fire out?
Yeah, that was the line on fire.
Awesome. Out of where? Out of here?
Supposed to?
No, it's not supposed to. Choke keeps falling shut.
I like that. I like the sound of this thing. Sounds good. Whenever you rev up. So, ooh, I like that sound.
Huh?
I like that sound.
What sound?
Car.
Yeah, car sounds good.
Pretty loud.
Car sounds good. This video. Car sounds good. The choke keeps falling shut on the carburetor. It's got a manual choke, but it's not hooked up to anything. So I got to see if he's got a setup for a manual choke, or if I just need to put a piece of coat hanger on the choke. I'll show you.
Get up here.
Right here is the choke, and when you rev it up a little bit, it flips the choke closed. So eventually it's going to foul spark plugs, and you know, it's running with the choke fully closed. So this is where the wire goes cable goes from here to here. I can put a piece of coat hanger from here to here to keep it open all the time, or we can hook a manual choke cable up if he has one. I haven't even looked this thing over really yet, so I don't see one. What's that? What's that one? It's coming up here. No, it's the hood release.
And whenever it pulled that choke, it started throwing those fireballs out.
Yeah.
It can blow up. I looked like you were shooting fireballs out the back of the exhaust too.
Probably was. It's probably loaded up with gas real bad. And there's a drag down in the manifold, which is a fire hazard.
Two-step in it?
Does it have a two-step? No. No, it doesn't have a two-step. Do you know what a two-step is?
I've seen it before.
A two-step is a drag racing mechanism. You use it when you're leaving the line. It makes it sound like, it makes it backfire and pop and bang like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw it on Cletus.
8 years old asking if his car has a two-step. All right, that's awesome.
No, I know what it is.
I think that's cool. I didn't know what a two-step was. They probably didn't even have two steps when I was 8 years old. Look at my cooler. Well, the Yeti got the brunt of the overfueled exhaust. That's all right. It's all right. It's got too much gas going in it, and it had a bunch of gas built up in it, and I'm blowing it out of the exhaust basically. I'll have to wash that Yeti off. All right, so I'm gonna get in and look at.
I saw Cletus light a freaking Christmas tree up in one of the two steps.
Yeah.
Stupid idea.
Main concern here is getting the choke wired. I'm gonna fix that right now.
Is that box?
All right, got her running. Wired up the choke. But can't fall open. Got the idle set. Warming up, cleaning out. What's that? The race car was, yeah. Huh? You could definitely race that car, yeah. It's a hot rod. I think so. I don't know though. I know he has. He used to drag race. I don't know. He used to drag race. I know that. I don't know how fast it is. What was that? What you doing? You all right? You dying over there? Good. We're gonna fine tune it later though. Just want to get it running good enough where we can move it around without it stalling and gagging, popping and banging and stuff. All right, be back on that one. Tune it up some later. Okay, after much delay, we are back on the Charger. This car's been here for a while. You can tell from the length of my beard from this last clip you just watched. This car's been sitting here for a while, and the owner has been very patient. You know, I got sick in November and took the whole month off. Bailey says hello. Took the whole month off just to try to recoup, and ended up going through the new year basically just trying to feel halfway normal again. And feeling pretty good, and we're back to work, and I'm going to raise this thing up. We're going to do a oil change on it, change the oil and filter, and then we're going to try to tune it up, adjust the carburetor a little bit, and go from there. See how she runs, see if he wants me to do anything else. And this thing has become a fixture around here, and it's my fault, nobody else's. But we had some other projects that I had to knock out that was bigger paychecks than this was going to be, so we just had to put that one on hold for a minute while I knocked out a few other projects. So anyway, I apologize for that, but we're going to try to get this thing finished up today. Bailey doesn't like when I wear my rubber gloves. She tries to get them off my hands. She doesn't know what to think about them. Would you stop? I'm trying to work here, goofball. Get out. Got a Moroso pan on it. It's an 8-quart deal. He asked me to put 8 quarts in it, so I'm assuming it's an 8-quart pan. Looks like it. Nothing really abnormal on the magnetic little drain plug's got a magnetic tip on it. There's nothing on it really. That's good. Oil is definitely dirty, gassy. When they get oily and or gas down a little bit, you can definitely lose compression and make them run worse. Oil's got gas built up in it. It washes the rings out. And you can lose compression that way. We used to have cars towed in at the dealer, especially when I worked at Volvo. And this was, a different situation. It was fuel injected cars that had not been driven until they reached, until they were fully warmed up. The oxygen sensors and the computer changes the tune-up in it. It goes from closed loop or open loop to closed loop, and I believe that's how it goes. And so it's richer until it warms up. And when it warms up, if you do a bunch of short trips, like get a lot of soccer moms that just go to the tennis courts in the neighborhood or the swimming pool at the club in the neighborhood, and don't ever let the car fully warm up, and they go out in the garage the next time, the thing won't crank. It spins over but won't fire up. So what was going on was they were over fueling, never warming the vehicle all the way up, and it would foul the spark plugs, and you'd have to change the spark plugs and the oil because the oil would be gassed out, and that would bring the compression back around, and it would fire right up. Not only will it foul the plugs, but the fuel in the oil will make it lose compression. Now, those are extreme situations, but we had that problem quite often with the Volvos back in the 90s. See racers that are using, over fueling like crazy, and you go in a bunch of rounds or 3 or 4 day race, you got to change your oil while you're at the event, maybe a couple times, because you get so much fuel in the oil. It's bad for the bearings, and it could wash out the rings, cause you to drop a cylinder. All right, we'll let that drip for a little bit. Filters are on the front here. I should probably be able to let them drip together. Shop dog doesn't want to be in the shop today. All right, we'll let that drain. All right, we got the oil all drained out, and now we're gonna refill it with oil. He said he's been running this Castrol multi-blend synthetic 1040 in it since it was new, and that's what he wanted, so that's what we're gonna put in it. Got the oil changed, got the oil and filter changed, got it filled back up. So now we're gonna adjust the carburetor. He had a new carburetor put on it. When it was towed in months ago, it wasn't running right, and the main reason for that was the choke flap kept shutting down. Every time you'd hit the gas, choke would flap would close, excuse me. So what I did is just took a piece of wire and wired it where it'd stay fully open, because he doesn't have a choke kit on here, like a cable, as a manual or mechanical choke horn on it. So you either have a cable driven one, or you'll have a vacuum or an electric. So this one is just full mechanical, and it only has the metering block that adjusts in the front, so there's no idle controls in the back. There is a metering block, but there's nowhere to adjust the idle. It doesn't have 4/4 corner idle. So what we want to do first, what I like to do first is make sure the floats are adjusted properly. And it's a brand new carburetor, so it should be, but we do need to make sure that that is the case. So I'm going to grab a couple towels, put it on the intake, because we may lose a little fuel, and just make sure that the float level looks good. Just want to put a couple of towels. Oops. It's already got a few fuel stains on the aluminum intake. I just don't want to create any more. And I'll grab a couple for the back. All right, this car does have electric fuel pump, and it has it's a deadhead system. So the regulator is right here. Regulator's right there, and then you got the filter, and it deadheads into the dual, or it's a single inlet Holley. Single inlet, well, it's a double inlet carburetor, but it's got one inlet going in. There's no return going back to the tank. So what we're going to do is take a screwdriver, and we're going to take the sight plugs out. I'm going to do them one at a time. You don't want to lose a little gasket here. Little bit of gas came out. You shake the car, you just want to have a little bit of spillage like that. That front one looks pretty good. It may be a touch high, but I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks good. So we'll put that back in. You don't want to over tighten any of this stuff because you'll strip it. Okay, that back one may be a little high. Okay. Maybe it was just a touch. It's probably pushing a little bit because the electric fuel pump's running right now. And yeah, that one should be good too. You just want to be able to barely have it slosh out when you rock the car. It doesn't need to be pouring out in mass amounts. Okay. Dry things up a little bit. Don't want a bunch of gas sitting around. You don't want gas all over the intake when you fire it up. You have a spark plug arcing or something, you got a little fire. So we don't want that. I'm gonna reach in here, turn the key off, and that'll kill my fuel pump. Okay. You know what? Didn't even really pay attention to what fuel pressure was in it, so let me kick that back on for a second. See what kind of fuel pressure this little gauge says it has. It's bouncing off between 8.5 and 9. Maybe a little much, but we'll see. Sometimes I'll run them anywhere down to about 6.5 to 7.5, but the gauge may not be right. We'll see what it is when it's running. You can sometimes make it a little richer by pushing fuel past the floats, past the needle and seat if you have too much fuel pressure into the carburetor. So you don't want to have a whole ton of fuel pressure cramming into that float bowl. Needle and seat can't handle it. So I thought I had it recording, but I didn't. What we're going now is to do the idle adjustments, air idle screws. So you want to run them all the way in, which I've already done this, but I'm going to do it again. You run them all the way in. You don't want to force it just till it stops, and you want to have a turn and a half out. Okay, so you got a half, a whole, turn and a half. And I already did the other side. So we're just getting, we're gonna drop this back to 0. Right there is 0. And we'll give one full turn. 1/2. One full. And we're gonna start there. That's gonna be our base. Okay. We're gonna fire it up and see how she likes that. And I think he's got all his vacuum lines plugged, all his ports. Looks like it. So let me jump in and we'll fire this thing up real quick. See how it responds. Pop out of the exhaust. It's got a little fuel in the exhaust, I believe. I think we had a little bit of a foul plug situation. It's got a little bit of a misfire. Starting to relight those holes, and hear it banging as it's lighting the gas instead of the exhaust. So we'll let this thing warm up good. Hopefully these plugs will recover. If not, I'm going to have to pull them out and clean them or replace them. Still open. Still a little on the low idle side. Alright, looks like that fuel pressure is running about 7 psi. While it's running, it's not too bad. It's not fully warmed up yet. It's still kind of clearing itself out. Once it gets fully warmed up, I'll try to adjust those idle mixture screws, and we'll go from there and see if we can't get this thing to run a little bit cleaner. doesn't seem to be responding very well to the idle circuits, and doesn't seem to have very much power. So I think I'm going to check the timing and see if the timing's really far retarded or something. So let's do that. Let's get the timing light out and check that and see where the timing lays. About 21, 22 degrees at idle. And when I rev it up, it advances to about 36. That's probably pretty good. I don't know, it might want a little more time, but it's not going to be very far off, most likely. Just depending on how these heads burn. I don't really know, I'm not familiar with them, but I was thinking the timing may be way down, but it's got a cam in it, it's got heads, it's got headers, it's got a bunch of stuff, so it required a little bit more idle screw than a stocker would, which is, you know, big camshaft will do that. It takes away a lot of vacuum at idle, so it's idling pretty good. It's a touch rich at idle. I think I'm going to try to lean it out just a little bit, burning my eyes just a little bit, stand behind it. Try to go in on the idle screws a little bit. Walk out here and catch some fresh air for a second. It's not terrible. I mean, I've had much worse on some of my own personal cars. Of course, we used to do a lot of power valve block off stuff back in the 90s, running nitrous motors, so we had lean pops, you know, and it'd blow a power valve and then it'd be really bad. So we just put blocks in the front and the back, and it's jetted up. I'll drop the idle just a touch. About 800 or 900. I don't know if that tack's real accurate. Let's see what it drops to in gear. Sounds pretty good. One thing I forgot to check, but we're checking now, is the throttle linkage. We want to make sure it's going wide open, okay? So I've got Caleb inside. He's going to hold it on the floor for me, and we're going to see how far it opens up here, okay? Go ahead, Caleb. Hold it all the way. Got it? All right, see this? We still got about a quarter of a pedal, or an eighth at least. So I need to adjust this linkage where it'll pull the throttle wide open. See, if you stomp it down to the floor, you're not even getting full 4 barrels. So we're gonna try to adjust some slack out of that cable, and hopefully this thing will go wide open on us. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna loosen up this hold down. I'm gonna slide this cable back some. Tighten her back up. All right, Caleb, do it again. Push it to the floor. Let off. Floor, hard as you can. Is that it?
Yep.
All right, still acts just a touch. All right, let off. I think this cable itself is getting in a bind now. This used to have a rod linkage. It's a lot better than it was. See how much of an angle it is pulling down? It'd be a lot better if it was pulling horizontally instead of almost vertically. Let me see. Do it again. Let off. Again. All right, we're good now. She's going wide open now. All right. Okay, you can get out. Careful with the door.
I like this car.
It's an awesome car.
I don't know how to get out.
Thanks for your help.
Well, I like this. So what were you doing?
Another thing, hang on a second, Caleb. Another thing I noticed was it was rubbing over here on the intake right there. So I loosened the carburetor and slid it over just a touch, because when this was going down, it was preventing it from going all the way, I believe. So I think we've got that straightened out. Now that I've got the engine really flooded because I've pumped the throttle about 25 times, it probably wouldn't even crank right now. So I'm gonna let that gas just kind of evaporate for a little while before I even try to fire it up and blow the mufflers off or something. So you really need to go drive it now, but it's about dinner time, and I gotta shuffle some vehicles around. It's dark. I'm not gonna go take off at night with this thing. I haven't driven it. It's got some bad tires. The tires are starting to dry rot on it. Hopefully tomorrow I can catch it when it's not raining. It's supposed to start raining tonight again. We had one really nice day today. It got up to about 70 degrees, 68 or something like that. It was freaking really nice. It's still 62 degrees in the shop. Haven't had to run a heater all day. First time in months I haven't had to run a heater, I think. I guess we'll pick back up tomorrow if it's not raining and try to see if we can't finish this up. All right, the Charger is talking to us. It's not overly rich. It's definitely idling a little low, but she's still warming up. Idling about 500. We'll drive it around the little neighborhood real quick and see how she runs. Make sure there's no stalling. May have to cut that idle up just a notch. Sounds killer though. I'm gonna drive it and see how the idle stabilizes. I may have to put just a touch of idle in it, but it's not gassing you out, which is good. Seems to be responsive, which is good. I mean, I haven't driven it, but it revs okay. Let's go drive it. Seems to be running just fine. And it drives like a 1966 Dodge. It's got drum brakes on all corners. It's torsion bar suspension. got a reverse manual valve body in it. Those of you not familiar with a reverse manual valve body, that's where you shift it in reverse. Where drive would be is where first is. Second is where second would be, and third is where first normally would be. Pretty good. Gotta be ready to drive this car. She's no Lexus. All right, so we went on a little test drive in the Dodge, and she runs good. No problems at all. We're gonna let it, I've been letting it sit for just a few minutes. We're gonna see how she fires up after just a little bit of a heat soak. The idle came up just a little bit as I thought it would as it warmed up after I drove it for a few minutes. It's exactly where I want. All right, so we let it heat soak. We're gonna fire this thing up and see how it does. Not gonna touch the throttle, just gonna touch the key. Yeah, it's gonna want to touch the throttle. He's out on about 800. It really don't matter if it's in gear or not. Pretty much fire right back up. That was a no touch. There you go, no touch of the throttle. She's running good. It's not fumey. Not overly rich at idle. Sounds good. I think he's gonna be happy with it. I think we're gonna wrap this one up. Hey, if you like this video, give it a like, please. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification for further drop videos. Come back and see us. Thanks.